I told you from the first day, we will renegotiate NAFTA or we will terminate NAFTA. I personally don't think you can make a deal without a termination, but we're going to see what happens, okay? You're in good hands, I can tell you.
Well, if the art of the deal means kicking Canada in the gut during the NAFTA negotiations, then President Donald Trump really is the master. The U.S. has just hammered Bombardier with more duties. Also, it's hammered Canada's softwood lumber industry, and now they might come after the auto industry when the next round of NAFTA talks begin on Wednesday. That's the same day that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will be meeting with President Trump. How should Canada respond to all this? To find out, I'm joined now by Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister, the person also in charge of the NAFTA negotiations, Chrystia Freeland. Minister, thanks so much for being here. And let's start, obviously, with the big news about Bombardier, the U.S. slapping nearly 80% of an anti-dumping duty on Bombardier and their CSeries jet. That's on top of 219% countervailing tariffs. That's a lot. What is the immediate response from Canada to this?
Well, first of all, Evan, it is great to be with you, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Look, this decision is not a surprise given the previous commerce decision. It is unjust, unjustified, excessive, and frankly absurd. This is a blatantly protectionist measure intended to take the highly competitive CSeries out of the market. And Canada is very, very clear about that. I think it is worth being clear with Canadians that this is just one step in quite a long process. The final determination has not yet been made. So, you know, this is not the end of the road. But we have been clear with Commerce. I spoke with Wilbur Ross on Sunday last week, and we've been clear with Boeing as well. We've been very clear with the U.S. that if Canadian companies find their access to the U.S. market, for example, in government procurement, cut off or restricted, then Canada is going to have to respond appropriately.
Okay, let's get specific real quick. Is Canada ruling out buying Boeing jets, the Super Hornets? Is that out?
Again, on Boeing, our government from the very outset has been absolutely clear. We've been clear with the U.S. government, and we have been clear in direct conversations with Boeing. I spoke with Mark Allen of Boeing at the UNGA in New York a couple of weeks ago. We've been very clear that we consider a company which is suing Canada not to be a trusted partner. And, you know, Evan, I personally would not feel comfortable with defending the spending of Canadian taxpayer dollars with a company which is attacking our aerospace sector, and Boeing knows that.
Okay. Will Justin Trudeau raise the issue of the Bombardier tariffs and duties with President Trump when they meet on Wednesday?
So I never like to make future predictions, Evan. And obviously, you know, we will see how the conversation goes, and the Prime Minister speaks for himself. But this is a very important issue for the Prime Minister, and I would certainly imagine that the Prime Minister intends to raise it, as I would imagine he intends to raise the softwood lumber issue, and as I would imagine he intends to speak about NAFTA. In all of his conversations with the President, the Prime Minister is very clear in advocating for Canada and for Canadian workers.
Fundamentally, Donald Trump is a protectionist. He's about Buy American. I'm not even sure if he's a free trader. Some people believe quite profoundly that these talks could go off the rails right now. Do you believe he actually believes in free trade anyway? Fundamentally, is he a free trader? And are these talks in jeopardy of falling out, going off the rails in round 4?
This U.S. administration is the most protectionist administration since the 1930s. This is an administration which is proudly protectionist, which is proudly and openly an advocate of an America First policy. And that's something that we Canadians have to be candid with one another about. We never said these NAFTA negotiations would be easy. And I think we also have to realize it's not just about us. So you're right. This is an extremely protectionist, a proudly protectionist administration. And that certainly poses some difficulties in a free trade negotiation.
Okay, I want to pivot to your other part of your file. You don't just deal with NAFTA, you deal with foreign affairs. Donald Trump was meeting with his generals, and he said, this is the calm before the storm. Then he was asked, what do you mean by that, the calm before the storm? What storm? He said, wait and see. First of all, do you know what the storm is? And some think this has to do with North Korea. What is the storm that he's saying?
You know, Evan, one thing that I have never claimed to be is a mind reader, and I would particularly not claim to have that capacity when it comes to the President of the United States.
Okay, pretty unsettling words. Let's see, what if it has to do with North Korea? Let's talk about that. Has Canada, given the tensions there, given the questions about their intercontinental ballistic missile capabilities, has Canada offered or will you offer to be some kind of broker to take down the temperature?
It's a great question, Evan, and I can't talk about everything that we're doing, but I would like Canadians to know that this is an issue that Canada is very deeply engaged in. We have a very good relationship with South Korea and with this South Korean government. We had a great bilateral with the South Korean president and the foreign minister, who is a wonderful woman. She used to work with Louise Arbour. We had a great bilateral meeting with them at the on the margins of the UN at the UNGA. And, you know, as you know, we've had a recent transaction, or transaction is a terrible word to use, but when a human being is involved. But recently we were able to secure the release of Pastor Lim from North Korea. I had a conversation with the North Korean foreign minister in Manila in the summer. And we have also been talking with our American partners about this. We've also been talking to China. I was in China in August, and part of our conversation was about North Korea. They're a very important player there too. So the Canadian government is very involved, working very hard, because the security of Canadians really is at issue here, and we are working very hard to ensure Canadians are secure.
Okay, well, but still no answer if you're going to be a broker, trying to be, if you're behind the scenes trying to be a peace broker here.
You know, as I've said, Evan, we are talking to very many of the involved parties. We have an interest, and we're clear with them that we have an interest. We are also very closely engaged with the Americans. I had some conversations this week with them about that.
Okay, I got to leave it there. Chrystia Freeland, I appreciate it very much. That's our Foreign Affairs Minister. Thank you so much, and happy Thanksgiving to you.